Welcome to the Lounge Lizards podcast. It's so good to have you here. It's a leisure and lifestyle podcast founded on our love of premium cigars, as well as whiskey, travel, food, work, and whatever else we feel like getting into. My name is Gizmo. Tonight I'm joined by Rooster, Pooba, Senator, Pagoda, and Bam Bam. And our plan is to smoke a cigar, drink some whiskey, talk about life, and of course, have some laughs. So take this as your 123rd official invitation to join us and become a card-carrying lounge lizard. Plan to meet us here once a week. We're going to smoke a Cuban cigar tonight, share our thoughts on it, and give you our formal lizard rating. We smoke our thinnest Cuban cigar yet. We discuss the Habanos price increases taking effect this month and how they will impact our smoking decisions. And we talk about the origin of Japanese whiskey, all among a variety of other things for the next 2 hours. So sit back, get your favorite drink, light up a cigar, and enjoy as we pair Nikka Coffey Malt Whisky with the Por Larrañaga Montecarlos. A slim panatella tonight from Cuba on the pod. It's the Por Larrañaga Montecarlo. It's a 33 ring gauge cigar by 6 1/4 inches long. And boys, this is a very, very small cigar in the hand. I did not expect this when I ordered them.
Yeah, it looks bigger in the photograph. And honestly, the wrapper is quite toothy and rugged.
It is. It is. I don't think they're using the best wrapper that they have in Cuba for these cigars.
Not necessarily a bad thing.
Man, you said these were beautiful when the box came out.
I think the shape is beautiful. I like the Vitol and the measurements. It's really quite nice. It's elegant in dimension.
This is as rustic
and
toothy wrappers I've probably ever seen.
Yeah.
Yeah. It feels like a long cigarello.
It does.
It kind of does.
Yeah.
It kind of feels like a cigarette kind of in your hand.
Por Larrañaga, the wrappers aren't always, they're not flawless.
Mm-hmm.
They have a little bit more of a rustic feel throughout the line, but not quite as toothy as this.
So these used to be machine rolled till 2002, I think, right?
Yes, I believe so. Yeah.
Weren't these discontinued at one time? A long time ago, right?
The machine made was discontinued in 2002, and then I believe they released the Montecarlos, this is technically the second version of it,
Okay.
which is a handmade product because Habanos went all handmade in the early 2000s.
But it's short filler or long filler?
It's long filler.
Good.
This cigar, though, in that dress box is heavily box pressed.
Oh, yeah.
Oh, yeah.
Looks like a Padron almost.
All right, boys, let's cut this thing. See, we're getting on the cold draw on the wrapper. I think this might be up there or down there, really, with one of the smallest ring gauge cigars that we've ever done on the podcast. I don't know if we've ever done anything under 36.
Tight draw.
Yeah?
A little bit of a tight draw.
Mine's open.
Mine's all right.
Yeah.
I have a whole box here, so if you want another one,
We'll
I'm happy
see.
to throw you one.
We'll see.
You might smoke through that in 10 minutes anyway and need another.
You know what? I think I might.
I'm getting a lot of cedar.
Yeah, on a cigar like on some of the other Vitolas, I get fruit, dried fruit. I don't get any of that on this.
I don't either.
Yeah, I'm not getting
No,
much on the.
like that Petit Corona is delicious.
I think it's a little nutty.
A little nutty and like a little mocha.
I'm also getting like an earthy thing, almost like grass.
Woody.
All right, boys, let's light this thing. The Por Larrañaga Montecarlos. Again, it's a 33 ring gauge slim panatella by 6 1/4 inches long. So the factory name of this cigar is the Deliciosos. And
It's quite nice on the light.
It is delicious.
It's delicious.
oh wow, that's the thing about a small ring gauge cigar, guys, is it's like a concentrated flavor.
Correct.
delicioso.
You get more of the wrapper.
This is really really nice on the
It's
light.
very good.
I'm actually getting that note the Pagoda sometimes calls out, a little bit of tea, like a little bit of black tea.
Yeah.
That's kind of the primary note I'm getting on the light here.
The aroma's quite nice.
Aroma's great at the foot.
There's something slightly creamy about this to me. I don't know why.
It
Like I
is.
said, mocha before. Like there's something that, and if it is tea, it's like tea with milk.
Yeah,
That's what it is. It's tea with milk. That's exactly right.
English style.
That's right.
This is really really nice.
It's funny, the two non-Indians come out with tea with milk. No.
Oh, Pagoda said it so much. I mean, it's on my brain.
Can I tell
Is
you?
it Earl Grey or morning breakfast?
I grew up drinking Earl Grey with milk.
Really?
Yeah.
Yeah, with honey.
Yeah.
Copious amounts of honey.
My mom always gave me Lipton. I wasn't
Yeah.
really Earl Grey.
Mm.
I also lived in Pennsylvania. I don't know if there was Earl Grey out there.
There's English
in the
tea that
80s.
we use. It's called PG Tips. Comes in like bags.
Yep.
And the bags are triangular. Delicious tea.
Nice.
Full-bodied, strong black tea.
I use bog buckery.
Buckery. All right.
My mom,
That's a loose tea, right? Is
Yeah,
that
loose
loose?
tea, yeah,
Loose
no,
tea.
absolutely.
Fuck loose tea.
my
Yeah.
mom
It's
was
a
a big.
mess.
It's such a mess. Thank
Such a
you,
mess,
Rooster.
yes.
I
Sorry,
agree.
just
It's true. It's true.
let's just say I've had house guests that are big fans of loose tea, and it gets all over the counter. It stains
It's all into
every.
the
I'm like,
sink. I mean, you can't.
Yes.
Like it stains the pot.
Yep.
Well,
Just give me a tea bag for
don't get
crying
me
out loud.
started.
Rooster's about to tee off about loose tea.
I'm glad someone
I
else
hate
is,
loose
because
tea,
I could go on for an hour about this.
We know how much you love the tea bag.
I ain't gonna deny it.
So I got to tell you, this is really delicious on the light. This is probably the least expensive Cuban cigar we've done on the podcast. The box of 25 of these I got in December, right around Christmas time, for $230 on iHavanas, which put them at, I think, $9.28 each.
Wow.
So, we always talk about price and we're always talking about price for value, the time
Hunting
to
for
smoke.
value. Sure.
Hunting for value. Under $10.
And this is actually after the price increase. They used to be like $6.
Yeah. This is quite the small vitola, though, for what we're getting, right?
Yeah, but this is at least a 45-minute smoke.
Yeah.
I guarantee.
And at the moment, it's delicious, right?
I do think, though, that it does kind of back us into that common thing with small ring gauge that we've experienced on Lanceros and smaller, where if you smoke this too fast, you're going to get a tar buildup and it's going to punch you in the face.
True.
Even for how I would
Yeah.
say mild medium this is right now,
Mhm.
I think if you push it too hard, you're going to get tar.
Yeah, and you can get draw issues too. It just
Yeah.
Yeah. Too much saliva.
Anybody having a draw issue right now?
So
I
initially,
anticipate one.
yeah, I don't know. Initially, I did, but it's actually open now that the heat's going through
Yeah,
it.
it's not too loose and
No.
it's not like over.
Yeah.
It's not that tight
It's
either.
nice
it's like
and
right
snug.
there. Yeah.
Yeah, it's nice.
When you draw on it and you still have smoke coming out off the foot, it's that kind of a thing where you're not kind of getting. You
These
pull
are
as
hard, these
as
are
you
hard
can.
to roll, I would imagine.
Of course,
33 ring gauge, long filler.
there's a lot of room. There's not a lot of room for error.
These are great little cigars. So this is the third Por Larrañaga we've done on the podcast. The other two we've done are the Petite Corona, and we did the Galanas, which is their Robusto offering. So aside from those two cigars, there's only one other cigar in regular production, which is the Habanos Specialist release, the Picadores number 1, which, as we mentioned on a recent episode, we were talking about Hermosos number 4. That's a 48 ring gauge cigar by 5 inches, a Corona Extra, came out in 2014. That's the only one out of the 4 that has a different band than this one. So this one has the classic Por Larrañaga band on it, yellow, like a gold band with white text, a little embossed. The Picadores has a red label, so it's a little bit of a standout for some reason. I don't know why
It's
they
like
did
red
that.
and white.
Red and white,
Yeah,
yeah.
it's strange.
So that came out in 2014. So the other cigars, as Bam mentioned, the Petite Corona, we did that on a previous episode. That's a 42 ring gauge by 5 1/8 inches long. And then the other cigar in the offering is the Galanas, which is a Robusto, shorter Robusto, 52 ring gauge cigar by a little under 5 inches, 4 3/4. That came out in 2020. So that's the offering from Por Larrañaga right now. They use this a lot for regional editions, as we talked about a lot. But
Small portfolio.
very, very small portfolio. And we've done now 3 out of the 4, including tonight, of the regular production offering.
I'll tell you, that Petite Corona is quite good.
Yeah, and I like that they come in 50 caps.
Yeah, it's delicious.
This cigar only comes in 25 count boxes. And I'll be honest, they don't look great anymore.
Did you mention the year on this box?
Oh, I did not. Good call, Bam.
Mm.
The box code on this is BRM La Corona, April
Nice.
23. So we're coming up on a year old.
Great factory.
April 23. So they changed the boxes, as they're doing for most of the Habanos catalog, to make it more acceptable, I guess, for a lot of the warnings, the health warnings that come from various countries. So they're centralizing and shrinking the logos and text on the front of the box to try to make it so if the sides are covered, which most of them are in a lot of these countries, that you're still able to see
The
what's
logo.
actually on the box.
Yeah.
So that's the new Por Larrañaga box.
Yeah, when you get boxes from
Mexico.
From Eastern Europe, well, in Mexico too, but Eastern Europe, you get big, huge stickers.
Yeah, Mexico, you can't even see the back of the box. You can't even see the factory code on those. You know.
You see a big picture of a black lung.
Yeah,
Oh,
or
please.
a deceased baby or something. It's
No,
horrible.
for crying out
And the
loud.
teeth.
It's horrible.
And the fuck, excuse me.
And the
They're so-
teeth. Yeah.
The Mexican government's great at regulation. I don't think I'm going on a limb with that sarcasm. Am I?
They're good at regulating tobacco, nothing else. Though.
They'll regulate the cigars.
I think it's the cartel putting the stickers on.
They're probably printing the stickers as a side hustle.
They got to get their vig.
This is a great little cigar so far.
This, I'm not. I think I'm placing this pretty medium right
Mhm.
now. It's not mild.
No.
I don't see it as a mild cigar.
I do think it would serve very well like a breakfast or lunch, but I think
Yeah.
it could also be an
Well-
early evening kind of start of your rotation cigar.
I agree.
I think
Early morning, afternoon.
Yeah.
I mean, it's great.
7 a.m. for you with a coffee.
Anytime.
I think with a cup of coffee, this would be
Yeah,
great.
It would be, yeah.
Or a
And
cup
to your
of tea.
point, it's like medium. I don't think there's nothing too sharp or aggressive in this that would
Yeah.
hold
No.
me back from wanting to light this in the
It's
morning.
true.
Black tea with milk would go
Oh,
very well.
Very
right.
well.
I love a tea with some milk with a cigar. I've done that many times. It's worth trying, guys.
I have to actually.
You really have to try that. And pick the right tea because there are teas that are infused with fruits and so on. Some of them,
No, plain black tea
agree.
with a little bit of milk. You don't need anything else.
Earl Grey.
No,
Earl
Earl
Grey.
Grey is.
I'm more black tea like Rooster.
Yeah. It's an experience.
We'll do it. In
Give
the
it a shot.
Bond.
We should do it, yeah.
We'll do it in the spring.
Brookmont.
Por Larrañaga was established around 1834 by a man named Ignacio Larrañaga. The brand was a popular producer of premium cigars, of course, and at the time of the revolution was actually one of the biggest of the Havana producers. Most of the line was discontinued in the 1970s and 1980s, really leaving only machine-made stuff in production until the early 2000s. In the 1990s, even with the machine-made stuff, they had a bunch of disputes over the ownership of the brand name worldwide. So the export of this marca was reduced to just a few countries. And now, like we said, they only have 4 Vitolas in regular production. Habanos S.A. categorizes the brand in the other segment of their portfolio brands. It's very popular with regional editions, and some people really chase those. I know
Yeah.
that we don't, but some people do. Everything, of course, comes from the premium Vuelta Abajo region, and the mother factory of the brand is, like this box, La Corona.
One we love.
And like Coaba, La Corona and the folks there are very, very proud of this marca.
Mm-hmm.
When you're sitting in that conference room, Por Larrañaga is right up there with Coaba over Monte Cristo,
Yeah, it's true.
over, Ramona, and some of the other brands that they make there that you get a lot of stuff out of that factory. They're proud of Coaba and Por Larrañaga, which is interesting.
One thing I remember being in that factory, the Coaba Vitolas are so visibly distinct from all the other cigars that are rolled there. So when you walk in the back rooms and you've got all the cigars that are ready to be banded, you can tell right away where the Coabas are.
Absolutely.
It's really cool. Really cool to see. Oh,
What's
yeah.
interesting about your point too is as we've discussed in previous episodes, the rollers don't actually know most of the time what marca they're rolling. They know that they're rolling a Robusto that day, or they're rolling a Petit Corona that day, or in some cases a Churchill, whatever. The Coaba people, because of the same thing you just said, because everything's a double figurado,
Mhm.
it's the only stuff in the catalog that's
Gotta
in
know
regular
what it is.
production. They know that they're rolling Coaba, so they're very proud that top row
that's
of
cool.
desks on that floor in La Corona,
Yeah.
they know that they're the Coaba people, and they're very proud of it.
It's a sight to behold.
Yeah, it's very, very cool.
Yeah.
Yeah, I just don't think this ring gauge is a size that I'm patient enough for, but
How you feeling about the
Try to
flavor,
be.
though?
I like
Cool.
the flavor.
Yeah, it's nice.
I like it a lot. Yeah. It's the finish between draws is there. It's not like an abrupt finish or anything like that.
I must say, you look very elegant, Pooba. With
The way he's
cigar.
handling it.
Oh,
I
He's
can-
holding
I can-
it very delicately.
I can picture you in a cafe in Paris in the afternoon.
Correct.
With those long hand gloves on.
Oui, oui.
Voulez-vous avec moi, s'il vous plaît?
With
Give
a
me, give me
Jean
a croissant.
croissant.
Yeah, croissant.
Voulez-vous coucher avec moi ce soir?
You sound like Kramer.
The other thing, for as small as the ring gauge on this, the smoke output's actually been very good.
Combustion's great.
Yeah.
I'm finding though that I'm having to pinch just a little bit up here.
Giz, don't
I
massage
know.
too aggressively.
Giz,
We've been
don't
through this.
gizmo the cigar. Don't do that, please.
That was
We
bad.
know the result of
That
that.
was bad last
You,
time.
you just have to smoke it so slow to get like that good draw out of it. Because if you attack, it really heats up. What?
So
I'm
funny.
laughing at myself at that joke. Don't gizmo the
Bam
cigar.
likes to bust my balls because the last what episode was that? Was that the Andalusian Bull?
Yes.
Yeah.
My Andalusian Bull that we did
Ooh.
on a recent episode. When I tell you the wrapper came off completely in one piece, and I set it on the table and I smoked the binder and the filler, that's exactly what happened.
Well, there's a reason why that
He
happened.
was massaging the head of the cigar trying to improve his draw. and,
Correct.
he got a little too
A
aggressive. and
little
the
too
whole
aggressive. The
fucking
whole
thing
thing
unraveled.
unraveled.
All
Oh boy.
right.
I'd like to apologize to the listeners and to the room
Thank you.
for my behavior.
You're forgiven.
I've
I was
You
about
know
to
who's,
say,
you know who's not forgiven?
I've
It's
been
before Dominicana.
yeah,
True.
I've been there. Don't worry about it.
It wasn't a great experience.
The aroma is delicious.
It
Mhm.
is. It's quite
Smells
nice.
so good,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah.
The foot, it really is one of those cigars that between the foot, the regular draw, and the retrohale, it's just really complementary. Everything's working really, really nicely. For an under $10 cigar from Habanos,
Now,
I'm happy about that.
I've only had the Petit Corona in this marca. Has anyone had any of the other cigars other
Uh,
than what we've reviewed?
I've had the Galanes and the Picadores.
Yeah.
I've not had. I've only had what we reviewed. So I've
we
only had
we
the.
did the Galanes.
We did the
Yeah,
Gowanus.
yeah.
We did the Petit Corona.
What's
of course.
interesting for me for this marca, these cigars are all pretty distinct in flavor profile. They're not. There's some similarities, but there's nothing like the Petit Corona in this Panatella. Nothing.
But
I mean, I think this
For
is
me.
this is really good.
It's delicious, but it's different.
it's good. They tend to the experience I've had is they tend to be a little bit one dimensional and kind of,
Mm.
but
I think they're flavorful, which is nice. Like,
Sure.
I haven't
Sure.
I haven't had much experience with this marca, but from what I have tried, I've never had one and said this is
Yeah.
a really
No.
bland, mild cigar. I've always gotten a good amount of flavor out of it.
Yep.
And I always think of Rooster when I think of this marca.
I do
Because
too.
of the Petit
you smoked
Corona.
the most of these in the
Yeah.
PLPC. I know you love.
I have not smoked this one.
No, not this,
Monte
but
Carlo,
many
but the-
others
but
in
the-
the
yeah.
PLPC.
Yeah. Well, it's like the La Gloria Cubana, the number 3, number 4. It's kind of like the same format, you know.
Yeah. Roughly the same dimension.
Number 1, number 3, and the number 4.
Yeah.
You know,
Yeah.
very
This-
small ring gauge.
This a lot cheaper though.
Oh,
This is a hell
yeah.
of a lot cheaper. Yeah, you're right.
It is surprising to have a cigar in our hand from Habanos that's not a half Corona or something that's going to give you a 25 or 30-minute smoke and it be under $10. Because I mean, if you think that the H. Upmann half Corona, which is a pretty small cigar, is around the same price as this now. I mean,
Yeah.
a box of 25 of those half Coronas are what? Probably $225.
Yeah, now, and it's also 45 minutes roughly. You get about the same time. But the flavor profile on that, so good.
I think most guys don't go for this size,
No.
Yeah,
Yeah,
we
I
don't.
agree.
you know.
No.
So hence, you know, the prices haven't really gone up like the other
The demand is lower.
Habanos. Yeah.
Yeah.
The demand isn't there.
I don't know. Por Larrañaga is just not a marca that I think about very often.
Mhm.
You know, even when I've had this in my humidor. Had we not reached for this and needed to do it on the pod tonight, like it would just sit there. Like I'm just not interested really in the marca so far. I mean, this is good tonight, but even still at this size, I'm not sure if this is something that I'm going to be wanting to reach for. Maybe
I
outside
would.
of having
would
the
too.
coffee.
I would
Yeah.
too.
I would buy the rest of them.
We'll split
Is
it.
there anything else that you want to get rid of?
There's a lot.
No,
A lot.
I mean, if you flashed me back to like the 60s where you could like smoke a cigar in the office at your leisure, if I was like a newspaper writer or something, and like I would light this up, put it down, pick it back up, light it back up, take a couple draws, whatever, right? Do something like work on the computer. I could see myself like working with the cigar almost as like in a utilitarian way. Like I want to smoke as opposed to like handling a Robusto. Do you know what I mean? And trying to, you could put it down, you could rest it, you can work, you can pick it up, you could relight it. I don't know. It's just, you got to smoke it so slow because of its size. It could be, I could see myself like being into this kind of a size. But if I'm in a lounge, I mean, unless it's like LGC or something, when you get down to this kind of a format, it's like I'm in the mood to generally blow some shit up.
Yeah, you want to
But
be.
we,
know what I mean? You feel me? You know what I mean?
You want to be a chimney. You wanna be a
Yeah,
chimney.
I mean,
Yeah.
not necessarily like off the chain, but I need 42 plus, 42 to 50, or
Sure.
Agreed.
At home on a spring morning, this would be quite nice. Yeah, no doubt.
Yeah, you could pick it up. I could just see myself like picking it up, putting it down,
Yeah.
doing some work,
Mhm.
picking it up.
It's nice.
I don't know, just thoughts.
I just wish the market was more interesting. That's really how I feel about it. There's no story. There's no allure to it for me. Even the presentation isn't great. Like, there's nothing about it that
it's an obscure
draws
market.
me in and
Mm.
makes
It's a
me want to get.
portfolio brand, it's kind of.
It doesn't make me want to get curious about it. You
Yeah,
know, and
yeah.
it's just it's not fun. I don't know. It's not a fun marker for me, like a lot of the others are.
Big brand guy.
Big brand guy, and I'm among some of the biggest.
On the contrary, for me, it doesn't do much at all.
Yeah,
Yeah,
cigar?
it's- Yeah,
You
it's
don't like
not-
it?
It's mild.
Yeah,
for you.
it's. I feel it's on the milder side, and I would not reach for it. I would not buy it, because
Put this against your nose. Smell the aroma.
no, it is.
It's
I mean,
delicious.
yeah.
Yeah,
This-
just
he's
let
gonna
the
burn
ash touch
himself.
your nose.
Yeah.
No, I have. It's just not. I think the draw is a bit too tight as well. Yeah, not getting much out of this.
The only thing I like flavor profile wise, and maybe I'm not remembering the PLPC well or accurately, but I feel like this is not as woody as the PLPC, and I like that.
I agree with
Is
that.
that accurate?
No,
You
I
guys have
feel
smoked
like
more of
the
those?
primary flavor note on that cigar is cedar for me.
Okay, that's what
Wow.
I recall exactly.
For me, it's dry. It's dried fruit for me. I get a lot of dried fruit on that.
You're right.
Yeah.
But would you say, guys that have smoked a lot of the PLPC, that this is less woody
Yes.
than the PLPC?
For sure.
Because that's
Yeah, I
what
guess
I
I-
remember, and
don't-
I
I don't
prefer
disagree with
this
that.
amount. Like this flavor profile to me is preferable
Mm,
for my palate.
mm.
I kind of agree with you because I had one of those this afternoon, and I just wanted to have that so I can compare it with this one. At this point, I actually prefer the
Yeah.
Monte Carlo. It's odd.
Really?
Yeah.
Than the one you had today?
Yeah.
So
Really?
the
Yeah.
retrohaliness early on was a little tough, but it's really quite smooth now. Very, very good.
So this flavor in the Petite Corona would be desirable to me.
Of course.
I agree with that.
Yeah.
Because a little bigger ring gauge would help.
Right.
Yep.
I think if this was 38 in a similar profile, even same length, I
Yeah.
think it would be a really interesting cigar
Agreed.
and maybe something that I'd want to reach for. But at
Mhm.
this size,
It's just
it's
too,
just not something I'm going to go
yeah,
for.
it goes too quickly.
Well,
There's a place for it though.
Of course.
Yeah.
I think you keep my fight is that I can't smoke it as quickly as I'd
As you
like
want.
to because I feel like it heats up.
And he's right.
It makes you take your time with this.
Yeah.
You don't want to rush it.
Same with the Lanceros and
Yeah. I mean, it's
Similar
it's a
Vitolas,
it's a
right?
Panatella. All Panatellas are like this.
yeah.
It really helps you develop patience. I see that.
But Lancero is
Yeah, that's great.
substantially,
That's true too. Yeah.
more substantial than this. I mean,
Yeah.
Yeah.
this is the diminutive stature is what is my only real criticism. It's not really the flavor.
Mhm.
It's like I just can't get the repeated combustion and the frequency that I want. Is
Yes.
really my only complaint.
Great
Other
point.
than that,
Good point.
Let's focus on the positives.
Well, I'll say one more negative. Out of all of the slim Panatellas that have ever been offered by Habanos, this is the only one that remains in the entire catalog. There was one in almost every marca, including Partagas, Montecristo, Upman. Cohiba never had one, but Bolivar had one. Cuban Davidoff had one, the 3000. Punch had one.
Romeo.
Romeo had one. So all of these were discontinued, in the 70s, 80s, 90s, and early 2000s. This is the only one that has survived. So that
Wow.
I would assume that aligns with
What we're
our
saying.
feeling about the Vitola.
Yeah.
I wonder if there's some women that buy a lot of Panatellas.
This is a good size for,
Yeah.
this is,
Well, I see a lot of women in clubs smoking Robustos, Toros,
Yeah.
They're not limited by the Vitola, I don't think.
Right.
You know?
I think there's a perception thing, though, which we've obviously debunked over and over, is that, and really, what I would point to is like the Lagoria Cubana stuff that we're talking about, which is similar in ring gauge across the ones that Rooster listed. I mean, your eye tells you when you see a small cigar with a lighter wrapper that it's not going to have a lot of flavor. It's going to be a mild experience. Obviously, we've debunked that through the years with some of the smaller cigars that we've had that really can knock you around a little bit despite the color. But yeah, like you said, I mean, this is definitely something that I could see women reaching for because it's not intimidating at all.
Sure.
Yeah, I just think, I mean, very simply, if you're a smaller woman, or I guess even a smaller guy, just with small hands, this doesn't feel bad in your hand. I think for us, like this, Puba used the word diminutive, like it just feels like a tiny little cigar. It feels like a cigarette in your hand, which is not really what I'm, ever chasing.
Sure. I see Giz getting a bit self-conscious there.
I just assumed that he was teeing something up about.
What are we doing?
Well, every time I send a picture on the chat.
Oh yeah, it's unusual.
Looks like you have a double Toro in your.
You got to check your camera, dude. Something's up.
I have a brand new iPhone 15.
I don't know what's up, but that cigar looks like a baseball bat in your hand.
Is it? What do you think it is? I don't know what I'm doing wrong.
No, the optics are off.
It's the hands.
It's not the hands. We have done the measurement for the listener. We have done the hand measurement.
That's true.
And it's
Yeah.
I'm
Your
right there
fingers
with you.
your hands are somewhat small.
They're not compared to Bam's. They were identical.
We have the same size hands.
Same
more or
size
less.
hands.
Yeah.
Can
I
you
resent the implication.
Can you palm
The Panatis
And
is doing a
it
good
stops
on
at the hand.
So you can't palm you can't palm a basketball?
So you say?
I cannot palm a basketball. No.
Neither can I.
No.
I don't think anyone in here can.
What about a softball?
Softball,
Yeah,
definitely.
sure.
Thank you, Rooster. So, boys, let's talk about our pairing tonight. We are back to Japanese whiskey. We did the sister whiskey of this.
I promise no dragons will be broken tonight.
No dragons tonight. This is not, I forget what the name of that one was. It was not great. This is our return now to Nikka. This is the coffee malt whiskey. We did the coffee grain whiskey probably about 80 episodes ago. I'll pull that up later.
Which was delicious.
Rating it. It was a great whiskey, which is why we've come back. And this one is a very similar presentation in the bottle and the label. It just has a different color label. And I'm very excited to pair this tonight.
Yeah.
You know what I love is the nose.
Oh, yeah.
So we're drinking this neat. The nose of this whiskey is really nice.
Slight vanilla.
Yeah.
That's exactly what I got on the
it's
nose.
all
Vanilla.
Yeah.
Yep.
I will say, I'm going to go out now and say something that I think this spirit slightly overwhelms the cigar. Just a little bit. A bit. It may need some ice because we're all drinking it neat now, which is actually quite delicious. I like this a lot.
I'll be honest. I think any pairing, including most Cuban rum, would probably overpower this cigar.
Yeah.
I bet you a creative bartender could use this in some sort of a drink. You know, it's got a very unique flavor to it.
It's quite
like
good.
One of these mixologists. It's unique. I've never really had anything that tastes quite like this.
It's very good.
Senator, what are we drinking?
The Nikka Coffey Malt, that Gizmo mentioned. I just think the funny thing is we did the Nikka Coffey grain, and we didn't really go into too much of the brand history, but
we were young pups back then.
But just doing a little bit of reading, there's actually a very cool, rich history to how this brand came about. The founder of Nikka, and this guy is considered the father of Japanese whiskey, is a guy named Masataka Tekatsuru. And in 1918, his ambition was to learn how to make whiskey, and he went to Scotland all by himself to go figure out and learn how to make it. He became the first Japanese person ever to master how to make whiskey. He enrolled at the University of Glasgow, took chemistry courses, and then apprenticed at 3 Scotch distilleries there. So very legit. This was not some guy that went there to go find someone who knows how to do this and then build a brand off that person.
That's incredible.
He himself wanted to learn how to make all of this. The guy returned to Japan with his Scottish wife. He met a Scottish woman there. They got married. His wife actually left Scotland and moved to Japan with him to support his kind of dream to build this Japanese whiskey brand.
Approved move.
And then the funny thing is,
The Bamalytics worked out for him.
It did.
Commercial success,
Oh, God.
and,
Personal success?
and emotional success
Yeah.
fulfillment.
That's beautiful.
Correct.
So the funny thing is we've talked a lot about Suntory, the Japanese
Yes.
brand. I mean, they
Yeah.
basically own like the vast majority of the Japanese whiskey brands. that
Don't they
exist
own
today.
Jim Beam?
It's like a partnership.
Ah.
It's like Suntory Beam, I think.
Got it.
So at the same time, when he had come back to Japan, Suntory was in search of someone who could lead whiskey production, and there was no one in Japan that really knew how to do this except this guy. So in 1923, he was hired by Suntory to direct building the Yamazaki distillery, and I think we've done Yamazaki.
We
in their
did.
12-year.
Mhm.
And that was the production of Japan's first genuine whiskey with Yamazaki, and he was involved in that. After he had a 10-year contract with Suntory, he decided to become independent and do his own thing. So in 1934, he built his first distillery, a place that is considered to be ideal for making whiskey that is similar to the climate in Scotland, which is bizarre to think. Like in Japan, there's a place that exists with a very, very similar climate. It's cool, crisp air. They're like right amount of humidity. And so while they were waiting to be able to start whiskey production, they actually started producing Apple products there, like not Apple
Like the
phones,
computer, like the watch?
apples to actually, sell and eat. And then in 1936, the first pot still was designed by Masataka, and that's what allowed them to start distilling actual whiskey there. So in 1940, the first whiskey from Nikka, his brand, was born. And that's kind of how he really got his start, why they call him the father of Japanese whiskey, because without him venturing out on his own to Scotland and figuring out this whole process and coming back wanting to do it, I mean, we may not have
Yeah.
Japanese whiskeys to try and enjoy that we do today.
I find I really enjoy this. I would buy it. I
Yeah.
mean,
That's good.
I find it very, but it's to me, it's like it totally doesn't taste like traditional Scotch and in how I think of single malt. Traditional single malts that we drink, sherry cask single malt,
Yeah,
Scotch,
true.
and et cetera. All the things, all the brands that we could talk about and that we've reviewed.
There is a sweet
There's
finish on this,
a
though.
very interesting taste
Yeah.
to this, and the vanilla thing is happening. That's
Mhm.
why I mentioned, like, you could be maybe a bartender. Could you make an old fashioned or something similar to that with this or something and get away with it? Like,
Well,
I don't
it's-
know. Like,
It's very funny you say
creative.
that, because to me, this is kind of a hybrid between like a bourbon, and a
whiskey.
Scotch.
Yeah.
Oh man.
Yeah.
And I say that because,
agree.
like, exactly that vanilla note that you're talking about, I feel like
Mhm.
that's prominent in a lot of bourbons.
Yep.
But the delivery of this is not as aggressive and full as some bourbons can be. It's, I think, smoother, more like the Scottish style of
Yeah.
distilling. So I completely agree. I think it's like kind of this unique hybrid between the two, and it's carved out its own lane.
Mhm.
Yeah, like almost like Little Rest did remember when we reviewed the Little Rest?
Yep.
It's like it's a hybrid. It's not really
Right.
Scotch, but
Yeah.
I mean it's in the style, but it's clearly not. It's like a hybrid.
Yeah, it's its own thing.
It's just like its own thing, and
The thing-
that's what's cool about this. It's like it's totally unique.
Before you said bourbon and Scotch, what was going on in my brain was almost maybe because of the vanilla, the sweet finish,
Mhm.
almost like a rum with a Scotch.
Oh,
In
That
this,
too.
in
Yeah.
the smoothness of the delivery. If you think about, we've been drinking. Obviously, we just got back from Cuba a few weeks ago.
Mhm.
Drinking a lot of Havana Club 7. The way that Havana Club 7 delivers, it's not unlike this.
the finish is not unlike this.
Yeah.
Yeah, I agree. I think
Yeah.
that's another great comparison.
Sure.
It's balanced. It's really approachable. It's got body to it. I mean,
How much was
I like it a lot.
how much was a bottle?
$75.
There you go.
Okay.
So it's right in line with 12s. There's not an age statement on this, correct?
No,
There's not on most.
Mm.
Does Hibiki have a few age statements possibly?
I don't think so.
I don't think so.
I don't
no.
know. But
Only
it's,
Yamazaki seems to.
Right.
it's in line with the pricing of a lot of the 12 years
True.
from Scotland.
Like
Yep.
I could see myself having this as like an after dinner drink of sorts.
Sure.
Like almost like in a snifter. It's just but it's not. It doesn't behave like a. It's not that sweet.
It's balanced.
But
I
it's
like the
balanced.
delivery of the sweetness. I think a lot of the times when we've had sweet forward spirit pairings here, it's either overwhelming of the cigar or the spirit itself just has a delivery that's too sweet.
Well,
And I think that this is very subtle. And why I'm comparing it to rum is I think it's doing what the best of Cuban rum and even some of the Barbados rum we've done.
yeah.
It's kind of in line with that.
And as you get deeper and deeper into the glass, it's becomes really, really good and really easy to drink. And for me, the sweetness is on the finish, not in the front.
I agree. And I
Yeah.
think the nose is nice too.
Oh,
Like every time you
vanilla.
take a sip,
It's vanilla,
it's just
all of that.
pure vanilla.
Yeah.
Why is it called Nikka Coffey? COFF.
So it's distilled in coffee stills.
Stills.
Mm.
Yeah.
That's what the coffee is.
It's
But
the
it's
style
not,
of
it's
the
not
still.
which is
spelled
used
like
to distill
coffee.
grain
It's with
whiskeys.
a Y.
That's right.
Right?
Yeah.
So the coffee still doesn't look like a pot still. It's like more vertical.
Mm-hmm.
Look in the back of the bottle here.
This is really damn good,
That's
man.
good.
And Bam, I'm feeling even, as we're about the halfway point here on the cigar.
It's kind of leveling now.
Everything's leveling.
Now it's leveling.
It is. And try this. I tried it. Just purge it.
Push out.
Yeah. Purge it and then wait a second and then take another draw, and it did me well. It served me well.
For a lot of listeners out there who ran and grabbed this cigar, certainly it's a very accessible cigar price-wise.
Oh,
When you
Am I
get into
wrong?
bro,
these,
he's right.
it is. And what I'm
Just purge these. I think with these smaller, sorry to interrupt, but with these smaller ring gauge cigars, when you start to get buildup or it starts to, you just purge it from time to time.
I
and
think
you,
Pagoda agrees.
do you
I
agree?
do. I really do.
Right?
Yeah, because I was getting a bit of the bitter taste, and I'm
Yeah.
smoking from my perspective.
You're
very
fast.
slow, but I'm still fast. But yeah, no, it did help a lot.
It did.
It really
yeah,
did.
it's a good
yeah.
move.
You need a
really
lot of tricks of the trade when you have a cigar of this kind of ring gauge, small.
Yeah.
You need to do a lot of stuff to keep it moving in the right direction. Don't smoke too fast.
Yeah.
Don't put too much saliva on the head of the cigar.
True.
Purge,
it.
as you just said.
Yeah.
Do a second cut if you're getting bit a little bit, which is very possible with
That's
a
always a
cigar
smart
that's
move, yeah.
under a year old. So we'll see.
So this is cool. A little bit more about the coffee still. So the coffee still is the world's first patented continuous still invented by this guy, Nikka Coffey, in 1830. And when Masataka was studying in Scotland, he was able to learn how to distill grain whiskey in a coffee still. And then what happened is the first still was imported from Scotland to Japan in 1963, a second one in 1966. And it says that apparently these coffee stills are not easy to operate. Like, you have to really know what you're doing to be able to make whiskey using this. So him being there obviously helped that. And then even getting them all the way to Japan, I mean, there's a 3-year period before they were able to get a second one to be able to do this. So it's pretty interesting. And when you compare the coffee grain that we've had with this, the coffee malt, some notes that they say, so the coffee grain that we already reviewed, that was released in 2012, predominantly made from corn, distilled in a coffee still, matured in old casks that were basically charred American oak barrels that they used to deliver sweet and mellow flavors. The coffee malt we're drinking, it says, was developed in 2013, a year later, and that's made from 100% malted barley, distilled in a coffee still, matured in old casks to enhance the rich maltiness, complexity, and a silky texture. It says this expression is not categorized as malt whiskey, but as grain whiskey, since it's not distilled using a pot still.
How
which
interesting.
We're most familiar
Interesting.
with.
That's
Interesting.
interesting.
So that's the reason why, because that you didn't, I don't know if I was on that review or not. It was 80 episodes ago, right? I mean,
Yeah.
But that's why maybe we didn't prefer it, because it probably it's a corn based
It
whiskey,
reviewed
which
very
did-
well,
it-
though.
It did really well, though,
it-
too.
It was
Yeah.
did
delicious.
well.
It
Yeah,
got a
okay.
9. It got a 9.2.
Oh, it did get a 9.2.
Yeah, it
was very
okay,
good.
I just can't remember.
Yeah.
But
And I think it's a product of it's also that was distilled in a coffee still like
Mhm.
this.
the coffee still, but it's probably leaned more towards an American whiskey style
Correct.
than a Scottish style whiskey.
I remember that as being a fuller bodied version of this, but also smooth.
Not as sweet as this either, I don't think. We didn't get that
I think
sweetness.
sweet in a different way. I think like this is more vanilla, and that might have been
Caramel.
exact something else.
What's interesting about this, given that you're talking about a history that's almost 100 years ago, it's interesting to me that when I think, I'm speaking generally, the average consumer thinks about Japanese whiskey, the first word that comes to their mouth is hibiki.
Yeah.
It's not
Yeah.
Nikka. It's not Yamazaki. It's not some of the other ones that we've done.
Or
It's-
Suntory also.
or
comes to
Suntory,
mind.
of course, yes.
Mhm.
But it's not this that has such a long history.
It's true.
It's just interesting how that's happened. you
This
know?
stands out for me.
I
Of all
agree.
the Japanese whiskeys that we've done, this is a standout in my view.
And we said the same about the coffee grain because I bought multiple bottles of it after we reviewed it. I still
long
have.
ago.
it
I
in
still
my
have
bar.
one as well.
Yeah.
Yeah. You know what's funny though? I haven't reached for it because I've just been so down the path of rum and down the path of single malt.
and
And
cognac and
cognac.
Armagnac. I mean, we've just
Yeah.
opened Pandora's
You know,
box.
we have it real tough around here making choices.
We're blessed.
So, boys, we're halfway through here on the Por Larrañaga Montecarlos. What's everybody thinking?
I think at the moment it's an excellent cigar.
I agree.
No complaints.
It improved
Sure.
for me.
Rooster, what do you think?
I think the draw is a little tight.
A bit snug.
Yeah, yeah, but the flavor is delicious.
it's
It's
I mean,
better
I-
now than it was in the beginning. for
Yeah.
me.
I like the cigar.
It's a pretty balanced cigar.
Yeah.
I really do like the flavor profile. I just wish this were a larger ring gauge and I could enjoy even more of it. But
Sure.
I'm happy with the flavor profile.
Yeah, I don't know what kind of flavor profile you're getting. I did get a little bit of the tea in the beginning, but over a period of time, I'm getting. I think Rooster would understand that. You remember those Parle G biscuits, which had a little bit of saltiness and sweetness? I don't know. It's just like really, we used to use it to dip. I'm
Yeah.
getting a bit of what I would call like a biscuitish flavor with a little bit of saltiness.
Yeah, I think that's pretty fair because I'm getting like a fruit type of a cookie type thing.
Yeah, like one
Right.
could say like
It's
a
there.
baking
That's
spice.
That's what he's
definitely
talking
there.
about, a biscuit, like a tea biscuit.
Sure.
Yeah.
There's a little bit of it. It's gotten better.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think
No, I totally
summing
agree,
up, because I'm in agreement with that,
Mhm.
I'm just getting more dessert notes
Sure.
as I'm gotten like
Yeah.
halfway through this
I think that's what
cigar.
we're really experiencing
yeah.
here. Yeah.
Those are notes that I think we all pursue in cigars, so
Oh,
I
yeah.
really like it.
I think the flavor that I'm getting that's in line with what you'd say, what I would call it is almost like toasted bread, like
But- but
warm bread,
sweet,
sweet warm bread,
like more
Sweet warm
cookie
bread.
like,
almost like
sourdough like.
almost like to me if you took one of those Hawaiian rolls and you put it in the toaster oven. You ever have a Hawaiian roll? Like
Yes.
there's those sweeter rolls.
Yeah.
It's not that good.
It's not.
That's a 10
Calm
all day.
down.
That's a 10 all day.
That's
They're
a 10
good.
all
They're
day.
good.
And
And
you
you
get
get,
slap in the face to poop.
Everybody calm down.
if you, by the way, if you get those at Costco in bulk, they're so
Yes.
fresh there.
They're excellent.
You put like one chicken nugget on it.
Oh,
I'm sure you guys.
Plant-based.
I'm sure you guys have done this, but I maybe not. But I've done it. You get the large whole thing, and you cut the
whole
whole thing
thing.
in half,
yes, I've done it.
and then you put whatever you want on there. It could be sliders, pulled pork sliders. It could be turkey, whatever sandwich you're making on these things. You cut the whole slab.
It's
of-
almost
of
like
it,
20 of them.
Yeah.
and then you
24 of
toothpick
them.
them, and then you just cut them, and
That's
you got
awesome.
sliders right away. You don't have to make you don't have to make them one at a time.
It's a delicious roll.
It's a great
Senator
roll.
has no idea what we're talking
I know what Hawaiian rolls are, but I've never bought a giant
No, it's
bag
not
of
giant.
Hawaiian
No,
rolls.
no.
It's
it's
like 12 rolls.
The Hawaiian
Oh.
rolls are like, let's say 3 inches by 3
tiny.
inches.
Sorry, when I heard a slab, I'm thinking like this
No.
giant, like
No. It's
It's
like,
no bigger than this computer.
Picture like
You
a
know.
White Castle roll, but they're connected to each other.
Right.
no. I know what
You
Hawaiian
know,
rolls are.
right.
I
It
just
sounds like you don't. I'll be honest. Bam, am I right?
I
You
will,
are right.
I will happily concede that Gizmo is a better Hawaiian roll expert than I am. Happily.
I'm just saying, if you're going to make the sliders, it's a hack. You
You slice the whole thing
you
right down
slice
the middle.
whole thing right down. Right down.
It's
and-
really good.
So what he's describing comes unsliced then. It's not
Yes.
pre-sliced. Yeah,
Yes.
that's
They're
what I'm saying I haven't seen.
they're
I've seen
kinda
like
like
the
half
little
sliced.
bags where it's the individual rolls that you just like
They're
pull
not
apart.
sliced at
Yeah,
all.
they're not sliced.
no, they're like they're
Really? Those
perforated.
little-
They're perforated.
It's like
not
perforated
sliced.
bread.
Yes, they're perforated.
Perforated bread. It's not.
It's really a good roll.
Yeah, it's
Yes,
a
it
great
is.
roll. Anyway, I'm getting that in
Yeah.
this cigar a little
Okay.
bit, as if you just took it out of the toaster, just a little one. I'm getting like a sweet toasted kind of bready
It's
thing.
it's great. It's great.
It's really good. So, boys, let's talk about something that we love to talk about and we don't love to experience. Habanos has announced a new price increase,
Yay.
which, as of this episode
Motherfucker.
coming out, is probably going to be in effect. And some of the numbers are pretty shocking.
Let's go through the markers.
So I wanted to go through them with you guys and let's talk about them and see what you guys think. So, just for the listener out there, these increases that we're about to detail are not for every single vitola in every single marca. So, for example, if we say a vitola is going up 15%, it doesn't mean that every one in the line is going up 15%. It's a composite average of what's happening with that marca.
Got it.
So, the story is that this price increase was announced in January or February. I think it started in Spain or Germany. It's going to work its way through the world, and it's probably going to be in effect right around the time that you hear this episode. The important thing is that if you haven't seen these price increases yet, they're coming in the next few weeks or probably month to the market that you're in. If you have, unfortunately, it's too late. So classic Habanos raising a lot of the marcas by a pretty decent percentage, having seen 3 price increases over the last 36 months, I guess, right?
Yeah.
24 months even.
Yeah. It's been very aggressive.
Yeah. So let's go through some of them. So Bolivar is going up 10.5%. So for a box of BBF, which were at one point around $500, they're going to go up they're going to go from 500 to, let's say, 550, which is, it's putting Senator in a position where those BBFs are going to be outside of his acceptable range.
That's a big hike.
They're always going to be in my acceptable range. Let's not go too far.
So Cohiba is only going up 5%. Of course, that makes sense that given all the price increases that have been in the hundreds of percents over the last 24 months, that makes a lot of sense. This one's shocking. Kawaba is going up 22.5%.
Yeah.
I think that's funny because none of their cigars are particularly good at all. Very few.
They do come up a lot. You see a lot of guys smoking them online now.
You know what's funny?
More
I
often,
respectfully disagree.
More often than previously.
We did the Salamones on the podcast. It performed very, very well. It was young.
That was shocking, actually. I'm not a Kawaba fan by any means, but that cigar actually smoked pretty well.
That was a good cigar.
Yeah, it did very, very well. But the thing for me with Kawaba is even having them in the humidor is how little I'm interested in reaching for them because it's just kind of the opposite of this cigar, but in the same, in that the Vitola is not something that I'm even remotely interested in.
Let's get to real Vitola. Let's get to real Marcus. They're just get off these.
Poop is scowling right now. Let's move on.
I don't like the size of the Vitolas of the Kawaba that they come in.
I agree.
The Figurados and Perfectos.
Yeah.
I'm not a fan of those.
Not interested.
Yeah.
Diplomaticos, the not a popular one on this podcast, going up 5.5%. Fonseca, which is a cigar we have to do. We have not had one of those on the podcast, going up a little under 5%. Now, this one's a bummer. Very similar to Bolivar. H. Upman is going up 10.5%.
Wow.
So that's going to put boxes of the cigars that Puba loves so very much.
At least they make good cigars.
Probably in the $600 to $650 range for a box of Conniers. Mag 46, a little bit less than that. Sir Winston, that's going to be in the probably $1,300, $1,400 range for a fresh box.
Plus for a box of Connies.
Wow, it's crazy.
Well, the problem is none of us are buying these cigars at the MSRP.
No.
We're paying more than that to begin with.
Yep.
We're not buying them from an LCDH.
Nope.
So we have no idea. I mean, like how much, they're more than that. Whether you're buying on Bond Roberts or from the third party, you're paying more.
That's true. It's always.
Why I'm thankful. I mean, one of the reasons this podcast has been such a great journey is that, quite frankly, I wouldn't have tried nearly as many New World cigars as I've had the opportunity to try and review.
Cubans.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, certainly.
We wouldn't have picked this up.
No.
We wouldn't have picked up that Kawaba.
Yeah,
correct.
Fair, totally fair. The larger point I was getting at though was we've discovered some really great New World cigars that are really, really serviceable. And that's a blessing. I mean, I feel like that, you don't have to get dragged.
Yeah.
Because before it was just, I would only pick up Cuban cigars. It's all I would smoke. And I do smoke some of these New Worlds that we've reviewed more often and put them in the rotation more often because of the pricing.
We all have.
Yeah.
Yeah,
sure.
That's
a very common thing now.
Because of the pricing. I mean, you can pick up and we like some of the stuff in the Davidoff line that we used to kind of poo-poo. Not everything, but there's some of those cigars now we kind of go to and we're like, you know what? I appreciate this cigar
They're
more.
awesome. Yeah, they're great.
Habanos has opened our eyes by doing what they've done, and
It's
we're
true.
continuing to review right now what they're doing. They have pushed us to a point that we have had to open our eyes to the other things that are out there. Because to your point, when we started smoking these cigars, they were arguably a third or almost a third of the price that they are now. We were getting D4s for $200 a box.
Oh,
Right.
Yeah.
They're
those-
600 now.
Those are the
Exactly
days.
the
Those were
point.
the
I mean, you could
days,
pick
yeah.
up a RAS, a 50 cap for $600.
No.
Yeah.
Here's the thing. I mean, back
You know.
then, people always used to ask me and many of us, oh, I see you guys smoking Cuban cigars. Aren't those so expensive? And every time the answer was, they're
No.
cheaper than the New World cigars that we're
Yep.
buying here.
Yeah.
Right.
And I mean, those days are so long gone now that exactly like Pooba's saying, it's pushed us
Mhm.
in the opposite direction where we're picking up more New Worlds
Yeah.
because they're at a reasonable price point. And, the irony is we don't have to worry about draw issues and some of the stuff that we deal with and get frustrated with
Yeah.
Habanos.
Yeah.
Heck yeah. I agree with that sentiment.
Mhm.
100%. I've discovered some really nice New World cigars that, this sounds crazy for us, but I mean, like, how many different I've kind of come full circle to know what I like. And I think a lot of people, I think we all we've reviewed and smoked hundreds
Yeah,
of
unique
different
cigars.
cigars,
Yeah.
Cubans, New Worlds. You kind of come around to what you like, and you're like, well, you like what you like.
Yeah.
And I think that's good. Keep trying new stuff, discover new stuff.
But discovering something that you love that you never knew of before creates a great diversion from your Cuban collection.
Sure.
Yeah.
Correct.
And-
I never would have picked up an Oliva V Lancero,
Oh, absolutely.
period.
Yeah.
And we did it on the pod, and I smoked that every single week.
That's
Yeah.
in all of
Yeah.
our rotations
Yeah,
now.
absolutely.
I actually just finished a box of those, 36.
Yeah.
I mean, since we did the podcast, it's a couple months ago?
Oh, yeah.
They're-
I'm on my
I'm
second box.
already on my second box.
They're incredible.
the
I'm blowing through them.
You're blowing through them.
They're $5.
They're fantastic. And the
I know.
the VSG Illusion,
The illusion.
another really great cigar.
Yeah.
Lancero.
The Warped.
And you know what's interesting about what you're
Warped.
saying, Pooba, is we've had so many listeners repeat that same exact thing, is that the exercise that we're going through here of just trying new things because they've been recommended or they're popular or they're on the CA top 25, whatever reason we reach for something and try it, this exercise has gotten us to a point where we've tried so many new things. And for me, it's made it a lot easier that I reach for so fewer Cubans now than
Mhm.
I've ever reached for.
Yeah,
Correct.
I mean, there are times I'll reach for one of the that fantastic cigar that Churchill, was it a short Robusto?
The little pyramid.
Yeah,
Davidoff white label?
Yeah,
Pyramid.
the
Oh, yeah, that
Davidoff
white
white
label.
label.
Oh,
Yeah.
the Davidoff
What-
Bellicoso.
Hey,
It's a wonderful
What a
cigar.
fantastic cigar!
Oh.
Agreed.
I mean, that was a cigar that I'm not sure in the Cuban vortex over these years that I would have reached for, you
Yeah.
know?
Yeah.
And one of the members in the lounge said to me, Pooba, you got to try this. And I said, okay, sure, sounds great. And I lit it up and I said, what? This is magnificent. This is a fantastic cigar. And
It's
I
like
think
$8, by the way.
Yeah.
yeah. And we used to, so that's out there, and that's a Dominican cigar. And it kind of, for my palate, I'm not into really aggressive, super aggressive Nicaraguan. You guys with the hammers and the
Mhm.
stuff. I mean, I like them and stuff, and
Yeah.
I like them. Don't
You
get-
guys in the hammers.
You guys in the fucking
You guys and your
hammers.
fucking hammers.
You tell him, Pooba.
No.
Hey, guy, I like-
we'll
hey,
sit
guy,
there-
I
I'll
like a
never
hammer.
say
We'll
guy.
sit there with our 80s.
Guy. No. I like the no. I like.
Pooba
the
had a
80.
hammer with us.
What did- yes,
did.
yes, I did,
have,
and I loved
I have
it.
a photo of it.
Of course, no. What I'm saying is that I'm not as big of a Nicaraguan guy. I'm a little more Cuban, Dominican. I
Sure.
You're
mean.
more of a pillow.
A pillow. What do you mean?
What does that mean?
He's saying you're soft.
Okay.
Soft for roosters. If you don't light a Patron
that's-
90th in the morning,
Right,
we're all
right.
soft.
Then we're all soft.
Hold on. You're interrupting Pooba. This is a revelation
Well,
here. I am.
yeah, no,
I
no,
am
no.
riveted.
I'll
I'm
explain
riveted,
to him
dude.
later
No.
about the hammer and the pillow.
I'm just being honest about kind of like where I lean. I mean, I enjoy the 80th and I enjoy the 1964
From Padron.
from Padron, and they're fantastic. But like, I do find myself leaning sometimes more towards the Dominican tobacco than I do Nicaraguan. It's just, but that's just me. I mean,
fine.
it's but my point is that this has just been great to experiment and review all these things. It's
True.
been really
Agreed.
good.
I like this. New Puba.
The new Puba's here. Look at him.
He's looking right at me like...
as he said that, he put his 33 ring gauge cigar in his mouth.
Trying to get smoke out of it.
All right, let's continue on here with our price increases, boys. Hoyo de Monterrey going up 10.5%, very similar to Upman. Jose Piedra, Juan Lopez, both going up a little under 7%. La Flor de Cano and La Gloria Cubana going up 5.5%. Monte Cristo, another one going up right around 10%. And this one's a bummer, especially for Senator, who said, I think he said if that D4 goes above, what was it, 25 or 30 a stick?
He ain't touching it.
He ain't touching it.
Correct.
You remember that, Bam?
I would have said 30, not 25.
He said 25.
No, there's no way. There's no way.
So Partagas is going up 9%.
And considering
So
inflation,
what
it'll go
does
up
that
to
make
40.
a D4?
So if a D4 box is what, 550, it's going to be a little over 600 now.
I don't know, man.
That's nuts.
I mean, that's
And you gotta sleep it.
Yeah.
you got to let it rest. So if you're okay,
It's a
so if
good
you're
thing I
buying
stocked up when I did.
if you're buying a box of D4 at
Us as well.
$610, you're right under 25. I think the number was 25. By
I
the
think
way,
it was.
We're gonna call back to that episode. I'll pull that clip.
I'll pull some boxes out of my humidor and put an addition on my house. What's going on?
Por Larrañaga, the cigar we have in our hand, this mark is going up 5.5%. Punch and Caidorce, both are going up 10.5%.
Wow.
Which is unfortunate.
That's ridiculous.
Quintero, another cigar we haven't done, one of the more budget ones, going up 4.5%. Rafael Gonzalez going up 6%. Ramon Ionis, another one in line with Partagas, going up 10.5%.
Oh my goodness.
So that's going to put a Rascab, which I think is right around 1,000 now.
dude.
It's going to put it at 1,100.
But look at it this way. Your entire inventory is going up by this much.
This is
But
true,
the
but
problem
we're not
is
collectors.
that we
Not gonna
intend
last
to
forever.
Smoke them.
Yeah.
Fuck it. Sell them.
no.
Sell
No.
this.
No.
Sell the shit and smoke
No.
the Oliva V Lanceros.
No.
Okay,
Cut-
let's
Cut
you
that
know what?
mic. Cut that mic.
And let's just end the podcast. Let's just end the whole podcast and screw it.
And retire. By the way, I would love to see him sell his collection
That
and
ain't
smoke
gonna
Oliva
happen.
V's.
Yeah, I
Yeah,
want to see
right.
Rooster in Havana just lighting up Olivas exclusively.
Come on, man.
Did you bring Punch
Come on.
DCs back for me?
No, they didn't have any. I told you, I did go. I went to
Did you-
Havana Libre.
Did you look enough? Did you look hard enough?
I did. I asked if they had, so the only double Coronas they had, there was the Hoyo double Corona, the Lucy,
And the Ras Gigantes, probably.
The Ramon Ionis.
exactly, the Ramon Gigantes, exactly. They had those three.
That's a good
Oh, sorry,
And then
the
I asked them,
Ramon
like, do you have any boxes in the back? She's like, no, they're out of them.
I
They
knew we
did-
should have grabbed more.
They
Yeah.
did have some though in the glass top box
On the
Just
beach.
for you.
On the beach.
On the beach.
On the beach. Yeah, so for context, when Senator went to Havana, Rooster asked him to bring back some Punch Double Coronas because he had seen some there, and unfortunately they were
Gone.
gone.
Well,
Yeah.
we were flying back into Miami, and we did not want to purchase a whole lot of cigars. So Pagoda and I each grabbed like 2 or 3.
Just a couple.
And you came home with yours, and Pagoda
And we
did
had-
not.
No, I did.
Yeah, Pagoda did
Those
too.
I was able to sneak in.
Pagoda, he packed intelligently that day.
In some
We
regard.
should have
Well.
got more.
Yeah, the rest were in vacuum sealed bags.
Not, not
He
kids
took
approved.
a labeled vacuum sealed bag and got that confiscated.
Well, he wrote it with a black marker. Cuban cigars.
That's how they were given to me.
All right, so El Rey del Mundo going up 6%. Romeo y Julieta also going up 10%.
So worth it for that.
Yeah.
God damn.
So, kids, where are they going up? You're saying by the government, by Habanos?
No, so Habanos
About the
is
It is the
distribution.
government.
Yeah.
Habanos is the marketing arm
Yeah.
of the Cuban cigar community, this Cuban cigar universe, right? So Tabacuba is the government-owned, company in Cuba. I think they have a partnership with Habanos. Habanos is the marketing arm. So when I'm talking about prices going up, Habanos recently, I think it was a year and a half ago, when all the crazy price increases happened, they leveled the prices worldwide. So the price that you get in a shop in Cuba is very similar to an LCDH in Mexico, very similar to an LCDH in Hong Kong, same as in Spain, UK, wherever you're going. They leveled the prices, kind of like any manufacturer of a product. They set an MSRP, and that's what they're expecting those
now,
prices to
keep
be
in
sold
mind for the listener, the only thing though that creates wild variations, you're not going to find the same price in Havana as you are Asia. It's the taxes.
The
Taxes.
taxes
Exactly
change
right.
everything.
That's right.
Exactly. And
Or
also,
in the UK.
in the US, we're dealing with the gray market. So there's
Mhm.
price fluctuation there. Sometimes you're going to find it cheaper. Sometimes, and most of the time, you're going to find it a little more than the prices that we're talking about. So that's what we're saying is that the marketing arm of and the sales arm of Cuban Cigars, based in Hong Kong, Habanos S.A, has raised the prices worldwide. So I'm going to skip over one of these markers here for a specific reason. We'll go to Sancho Panza going up 6%. Trinidad, this one surprised me, guys, because we've talked about the need for Trinidad to go down in price
Oh, yeah.
because I think they inflated that to a point that I don't really see any interest in Trinidad,
No.
certainly in this room,
No.
but also outside this room. I
Yeah.
don't see it happening on secondary markets. I don't see it happening on our groups. People are just have lost interest in Trinidad because they've tried to price it so similarly to Cohiba,
Correct.
Yeah.
you know, and it's not there.
It's not there. And some of the like the Vigia and some of these other ones, you know, in the lineup are they're not fundies. I mean, they're good, they're constructed well, but they're not worth that price point.
No way.
That's the problem.
Do you want to pay $65 for a Trinidad, you know, Corona?
Or,
Yeah.
or
Robusto?
how about $48 for a Colonialis?
Yeah, it's crazy.
Yeah,
It's
like
insane.
a Colonialis, exactly. Is it a really good cigar? Sure.
Yeah, but for $48?
But for $48,
It's not worth 40
for that
bucks.
reason, I'm out.
None of them are. You know, you have the Media Luna, you have the Vigias,
It's a nice cigar.
you have the Esmeralda.
They're all
They're
nice.
nice.
The Esmeralda is apparently a very nice Robusto. I've never even tried to get one.
But that's over $50 now. I think
I
it's
think
like
it's close to
50.
80.
What?
Yeah.
It's crazy. So yeah, so Trinidad going up another
If you can find
7.5% is ridiculous to me. I mean, the Fundadoris, I mean, those boxes now are
It's-
1,500,
it's
1,700.
outrageous. Yeah.
So is
Crazy.
this China dictating like price increase?
No, it's Habanos saying that they want to raise the prices. Certainly, every box that comes out of Cuba is most likely sold, especially the high end ones that you know the market is dying for. They're already sold before they're even rolled in Cuba. So for these folks, they don't care about the average consumer. They don't care about the plumber who likes to smoke a Cohiba Robusto once a month. They don't care because they have no issue with the demand.
It's supply
Yeah, I
and
mean,
demand. Right?
Their
As
supply
long
has
as-
not met the demand.
I mean,
Right.
as long as there's a demand and the people are willing to pay these prices, they're not going to stop.
Yeah, I mean,
Right?
this is an exercise in value-based pricing, right? How much is the consumer willing to pay, regardless of what it actually costs to produce any of these products? Or, I mean, even the demand at this point, the demand for Trinidad, there's no way matches the price point that they're setting it at.
Absolutely not.
So, like, I respect the exercise. I think that most successful businesses should engage in value-based pricing. The problem is, I just think the execution on Habanos' part is terrible. I mean, we are the ideal consumer for them in that we're so eager to try good cigars that, many times we're willing to spend sometimes silly amounts of money, right, to get
Yep.
access to certain things. And the fact that we're sitting around saying, I'm not going to pull the trigger on almost anything in the Trinidad line at this point, they've clearly missed the mark.
Absolutely.
Yeah. And the problem is I don't think that they've connected that to the long-term alienation, not only of the current smoker, but of the future smoker.
Well, correct. This is always my big
And that's what we've
rallying
talked
cry.
about
I'm like, the
many
fact that there
times.
are young
Yeah.
people that will never, ever experiment with any of these Cuban cigars because there's no 22-year-old kid that's going to drop $30, $40 per cigar just to
Right.
get that experience when there are New Worlds they can buy for $10 that will satisfy them.
Right.
That's a whole generation that's going to be left out of the fold of what we got into when this was so accessible. It wasn't hard. And the other thing to keep in mind, with New World cigars, you can walk in and buy singles anywhere. With Cuban cigars, especially if you're in the States, you need to buy a box.
That's
That's
a
right.
commitment. That's
Yeah.
correct.
Exactly. And so when we used to buy boxes, it's like, $200 for a young kid is not a small amount of money, but you can certainly find a way to split up with some friends at $200
2-3 guys
box.
or something, whatever.
Exactly. You're not going to buy a $600 box
No
of
way.
cigars to split with some buddies at that age and at that price point.
No
It's
way.
not going to happen.
Yeah, and they're missing out on an incredible experience in the future trajectory of Cuban cigars.
It's in trouble.
It's in trouble.
It's in trouble, and also I'll also add, if you're not buying on the gray market in private sales here in domestically, you're risking losing a box at an airport.
Yeah.
You know, so so you're going to pay that money, and you're going to risk losing a box. And a lot of these retailers now aren't like what they used to be.
They've dropped the guarantees.
And they've dropped guarantees. So it's like, okay, you're going to raise the price, and you're also going to drop some of these guarantees on me. You know, it puts the end user in a tough spot.
And the point that you guys are both making, you and Senator, is that this 22-year-old kid who doesn't have a lot of money, maybe at some point is going to have a lot of money. And now he's felt so alienated from the Cuban cigar market that he's already found his preferences. He's already found what he's interested in.
Yeah, he's
not
on.
doing a podcast where he's smoking 52 different cigars a year.
Right. He or she is used to consistency and being able to draw every cigar out of that box.
Yeah.
You're going to go try Cubans and get
And-
frustrated at that price point. You've
and-
lost the consumer.
Yeah,
And
you don't
easy
need a
access
per-
to the cigar as well.
That's right. You don't need to walk around with a perfect draw in your cigar case.
Yep.
Yeah.
When you're buying Padrones and Davidoffs or even
Olivas, any of them.
Olivas.
yeah.
That's exactly. It's just so, you know, it's a tough spot. I wonder at what point this value-based pricing exercise is gonna reach a tipping point.
But at the present time, they can't keep up with the demand.
Exactly.
So they have no incentive of
Right.
keeping the prices.
My only caveat
It's
to
a
that,
big world.
when you're in Havana,
Yeah.
you look at the one thing that is always on the shelves, Cohiba and Trinidad, because that price point is so aggressive that even though there's demand, it's obviously not strong enough that they're selling out. I mean, we're in Havana. I
It's
can't
funny.
find any boxes of Partagas.
Yeah.
I can't find any boxes of Bolivar. I can't even find that many Monte Cristos. But what's always sitting on the shelves at the
It's
crazy
true.
price points that if I were dumb enough to want to spend $2,000 on a box of Cohiba Robustos or something, they're sitting right there.
And especially to your point, it's the smaller format stuff
right.
that they've priced so ridiculously.
It's
I
insane.
understand.
The
I
Siglo 1
understand.
and Siglo
It's
2.
crazy.
Yes.
I understand pricing Siglo 6, Robusto, arguably, Esplendido,
Behikes.
Lancero, and certainly Behique, right? I understand pricing them at a level that, you know, certainly with Behique, they can't make, if the, you know,
It's
the world
limited.
demand was
Yeah.
10% of what it is today, they still can't meet it. I get pricing it like that, but some of these smaller Vitolas in the Siglo line, some of the, you know, the Media,
Media Luna.
Media
Corona.
Luna. I mean, they're, like you're saying, they're sitting on the shelves. There's
Yeah.
hundreds of boxes of them.
And that was the case at every shop in Cuba.
Absolutely.
Every shop that we've
And
Yeah, I
the
mean-
other point too, remember what we saw in I Havanas on this grain market. There have been boxes of Esplendidos and some of these higher end Cohibas just sitting there
Sitting
because
there.
the prices are crazy.
Yeah.
Behiques sitting there. I mean, these are things you never, ever would have seen.
Wait, you saw Behiques?
yeah, on I have.
Absolutely.
Oh, and I have.
Yeah.
I'm talking about Havana.
Not in Havana.
Well, the
No,
reason
you-
why you don't
And
see them in
when
Havana,
even when I was in Havana Libre, I saw Esplendidos just sitting there.
Yeah.
Can you imagine years? Those would have been scooped up
Correct.
instantly.
well, they're $100 a stick now.
Now, you guys were in Cuba in March 2022,
23.
Yeah.
23.
Yep.
So you found some singles of Cohibas that you smoked.
I did.
Am I right? Was it
The-
a Lancero?
Cohiba Lancero.
And what was the price at that point?
That was $22.
So that was at the point where they hadn't adjusted the prices worldwide. They haven't leveled them.
I kicked
So it's
myself
gone
to
up
this
like-
day
That-
for not buying that whole
That
box.
price is closer to 95.
Oh,
It's
yeah.
gone up above more than 4 times that.
It's outrageous.
Well, you're
crazy.
talking about within a year.
But if you're going to compare Cohiba to the Trinidad line, I mean, I can see someone splurging. If you have a choice between the two marcas, you're going to go for Cohiba. I can only imagine the inventory of Trinidads that it's sitting in Havana right now.
Yeah. Well, the
Right?
the other thing too with Cohiba is that aside from outside of festival time, which, you know, right now as we're recording this is right after the festival, right?
Right.
So
Right.
this episode is going to come out a week, 2 weeks after the festival. So now there's decent stock in Havana, but for Habanos and Tabacuba, there's no reason to make boxes of cigars and not export them to these other territories, because when it goes to Hong Kong, when it goes to Europe, when it goes to Hunters and Franco, they're gone immediately. When they sit in Havana, the other one I wanted to point out too, to Senator's point, think about how many boxes of that Romeo, the red Linea, the high end, the high end line. How many of those boxes we've seen every single time we go there, because that's a new release, fresh cigars. They're not great, and people aren't buying them.
Nobody wants
At
those.
$60, $70 a month.
Nobles and the
Nobles,
Dianas,
and another one. Yeah.
Those
The Hidalgo.
Yeah.
Hidalgo.
So you've got those that aren't good, and then you have on the other side demand. I mean, with the economy, even millionaires. I'm not talking billionaires. I'm talking like millionaires who like cigars. I mean, some of these guys. Okay, the Behike is great. It's got medio tiempo, right? Primings. No, I don't think any other cigar
It does
features medio tiempo.
That's
those
correct.
primings in the whole catalog, right?
Yeah.
Correct.
So okay, that's special. I could, but I see people buying that box and that they buy one box.
Mm-hmm.
Well, the problem with those now is they're $270 a stick for a Behike 52,
Right.
fresh.
Right.
That's outrageous.
Right.
It's crazy.
Right. And like to pay that much and then you really should wait 5 years to even touch one.
That's
Exactly.
true.
I mean,
At that
sure
price.
makes this cigar like it was this under $10.
Like pennies compared to it.
This cigar's incredible.
So let me finish up on the markers here. So like I said, Trinidad going up 7.5%, Vegas Robania going up a little under 6%, and Vigueros is one of the budget lines going up 4.5%. The one I skipped for a very specific reason, San Cristobal de la Habana, is the only one in the catalog with a price decrease coming.
Oh, I wonder why.
13% decrease. in
How
price.
far
the
has the La
lowest-
Punta gone down?
The La Punta. Oh my God.
We
It's
got to
like
punt the La
punt it.
Punta.
Oh, that was a tough cigar. So yeah, that's the story on Cuban price increases.
Great news.
And unfortunately,
what an uplifting.
I would
Dialogue.
expect that this is going to happen at least one more time this year, and
Yeah.
probably semi-annually moving forward.
Yeah.
Great.
Which is how they've
We'll
they've
get it up
decided
to,
do it.
all we got to do is get everything up to like, box of minimum cost for a box of Robustos is going to be like $1,700.
That's exactly what they are for a fresh box of Cohiba Robustos. It's a little under 1,700.
I mean, it would be
$1,700.
nice to be in a business like that. You could increase the prices whenever the hell you want.
Yeah. Well,
You
you
know.
do that.
No, I mean, it's really remarkable what they're doing for anybody who's, in business. Like, that's the hardest thing to do is to
Yeah.
increase your prices.
Absolutely.
Oh.
The hardest thing.
Tell me about it.
And they just,
I know.
they just don't
Yeah.
care. They don't
No.
care about guys who've been smoking, people that have been smoking for 30, 40, 50 years. They do not care about pricing people out. They have no nostalgia. They have no connection to their consumer, which again ties this whole thing together, that the future of that consumer, the next generation, or the 2 generations from now of that consumer, are not going to be reaching for Cuban cigars.
Well, where's the tipping point? So that it may not happen for 5, 10, who knows, 5, 10 years, but at some point, they may run into the law of diminishing returns.
Here's
strategy.
Here's what I think. Here's what I think is
It's
going to
possible.
accelerate this. Is if for some reason Cuban cigars go on a bad run,
Mm-hmm.
that is going to be very, very damaging to their business. Right now, Cuban cigars, they've
On a good run.
benefited. They've benefited for the last 4 years, 5 years
Yeah.
of these cigars being arguably,
Starting in 2018.
2018, 2019, right
Yeah.
before COVID,
Right.
arguably one of the best runs of Cuban tobacco that has ever happened. And I'm not saying that
Across
my
the market.
experience-
No,
I'm
that's
saying
not
that-
an
that's what
anecdotal.
everybody's saying.
everybody.
Everybody's
that's
saying
true.
that.
Yeah.
That's true.
Yeah.
all of the experts are saying that. So if that turns and all of a sudden you're buying boxes of D4s that all of a sudden don't taste or smoke like D4s of the past, and the prices continue to go up,
Well,
that's
hold on.
going to change everything.
I will say that I don't think I'll ever buy another 50 cab of Ras, and I'd like to. I'm not spending over $1,000 for that. I'm just not going to do it. So for me, I can afford it. I want it. I can do it anytime I want. The
Well-
tipping point for me, it's almost there. Like, I'm not going to do that.
It's only because we have spent let's say $600 for a.
Yeah, we were
for a
spoiled.
rack.
I understand
So
that.
we got it at that price.
But
so
it's
we
outrageous,
know,
though.
So
Rooster.
we know like that's the price. That's a fair price.
You don't see a
But now
tipping
the
point
prices-
occurring right now in this room. You're not going to
Yeah.
buy boxes that are
No.
outrageously priced. You're just not going to do it.
I'll tell you right now, when I stand in front of my tower, tell me the last time you've seen me smoke a banded D4,
Nope.
a banded RAS,
Nope.
banded Monty 2.
No.
It's just not happening.
You're preserving your collection like we
I
are.
am, because the replacement cost of that versus unbanded stuff, and certainly the New World stuff, to Puba's point, that I'm smoking, it's harder for me to reach for my Cuban collection because I know with time they're just going to get better and they're going to increase in value. And now even a D4 to me is something I'm looking at instead of a daily smoke. It's more of a
Special occasion.
smoke.
So wait, on your birthday, no Grand Reservas?
I'll tell you, a few weeks ago for the Super Bowl, I smoked a Montecristo number 2. I smoked it in an unbanded custom roll that we brought back from Cuba with us, and I smoked a Davidoff Millennium Pyramides.
I haven't seen.
You know what
I haven't seen a Cohiba in your hand in a while.
You know what I smoked, by the way, last Super Bowl? LDO 2, age Partagas D4 from 2014 or something. Like, my entire mentality's changed.
Yeah, the tipping point is here for a lot of people.
I'll just say I have a different perspective on this. I don't know. I'm very much of the camp, like, live every day like it's your last. So I'm not.
That's a little
personally-
surprising, I'll be honest, to hear.
Yeah, I'm not of the. I mean, look how many
Mr.
times.
Conservative.
I was going to
How
say,
many times do you see me light up a D4 still all the time?
but
Yeah.
but the argument that's weird to me with this, and I want to dig into this a little bit, is I would argue in the room, you might be the most practical and pragmatic about your spending out
Correct.
of everybody here.
Correct.
So it is interesting to hear you say that.
It is
I
interesting.
love hearing that.
It's true.
I love hearing.
Do you want me
that.
to tell your wife
Hold
that?
on.
Yes, because I mean, I can hold myself accountable, and I do not adhere to that.
At times
very
you
well.
don't.
Right.
But you indulge when you want to indulge. But I think on a day-to-day basis
But
of spending.
here's, I guess, my point. For
When
me,
he's driving home with a new Rolex?
Thank you, Rooster.
those are a whole different ballgame because those actually hold value. But anyway, and they're
So,
consistent.
so do Cuban cigars.
No, not
They
like
keep
a
going
Rolex
up in
does.
price.
Yeah.
Not like a Rolex does. But the point I'm making is, for me, there are certain Cuban cigars that like I enjoy as I view as like an essential everyday need almost for me, right? Like a D4 and a RAS, those are like needs. Those
We
don't
need it
feel
too.
like wants.
We need it too.
And so my point is just like my options are to like scroll them away and have them very occasionally and not be as happy because I know I want to reach for them, or to just enjoy them. And, when I run out, then I have to make the decision of like, I'm glad that I didn't make myself miserable not smoking things that I want to and making decisions out of like, this stubbornness that I'm having about the price, as opposed to just like living every day like it's my last and enjoying them. And when I run out, I'll have to make the decision. Am I angry at Habanos at that point? And I say, fuck that. I'm not going to buy any more of these. Or I'm going to say, you know what? Of all the things that I've been smoking through, there's really only these 2 particular cigars that I will pay a premium to now have occasionally.
Yeah.
I just, for some reason, I can't wrap my head around not enjoying something I want that I already have, I've already bought, and waiting as if like, if I just have one every month as opposed to one every week or 5 every week, like I'd rather just be happy now and enjoy them while I know they're good and they're smoking well, and not like dramatically alter my preference just based on the fact that the prices are going
I
up.
agree. I agree 100%. And you're talking to someone who's not exactly, I'll spend money. Do you know what I'm saying? Like, I'm not, I don't live my life in a cubicle. I want to just to kind of reinforce what Senator's saying. I agree with that. The only point I was making before is I do find myself hedging just a little.
Exactly
just
right.
a little bit.
Yeah.
Like not dramatically.
I feel
I'm not
I agree with
denying
that.
myself.
I agree.
I deny myself of nothing. I don't know how
I
many.
agree. I meant that more at the comment of like, when's the last time you see me with a D4? Like that to me is unthinkable.
No,
Like,
no.
yeah.
Okay, but let me just say,
Let
me just say,
If you don't see a D4 in my hand in over a week,
There's
like,
something
there's
wrong.
something wrong. You should be concerned.
So
Let's go
here's what
knock
I'll
on
say,
his
though.
door if we don't see that.
But
happening.
it's been here's what I'll say about it is it's not walking to my humidor doing the math per se. It's factoring. Value is factoring, sure. And the cost of replacement is factoring. What I'm saying is it's this forced curiosity that has pushed me into other avenues of the cigar journey, namely unbanded custom roll stuff that I've really been enjoying, that in some cases is giving me more.
Oh, I agree with
than
that.
a $30 cigar.
I'm on that train now too. I
And
agree with that.
And that's where I'm saying I'm reaching for a lot of those.
But I like what Puba
over a
said.
banded
That's a
cigar.
form of hedging. So you're slightly hedging.
Exactly.
And that makes sense. And we're all kind of doing that.
Yeah,
We are doing that.
But I'm doing that because I'm enjoying those just as much as I am a Raster
Exactly.
D4.
That's why I'm saying I'm not doing it just on price.
Mm-hmm.
I'm doing it that this forced experiment has resulted in something that is giving me a really close experience. Is it 3% off? Is it 5% off? Is it right there with what I get out of that banded
It's
cigar?
just about being somewhat practical in your decisions, like just
exactly.
and like
Like
it just
apparently I
circles-
am. I'm going to put this on
no,
my
but I
wall.
think
No, it circles back, but it circles back to what I was kind of saying before, I think, which is we've been able to discover some cigars
Exactly.
that it's some New World cigars that are accessible, that are reasonably priced, and you can just slip them in your rotation because why not? They're good.
Yeah.
So it's not a matter of denying yourself of anything. I think it's a matter of just trying new things. Listen to this podcast because as a call to action, because
We're
go
doing
into
a
the
lot
catalog.
of we're doing a lot of the work for the listener. You know,
Go
week.
into the catalog, go to the website, download the spreadsheet, and look at the rankings. It'll tell you the truth.
I think very well said.
And the
very
last
well
thing,
said, dude.
the last
You
thing I'll
know?
actually say, where I do draw the line and where I think I am actually very practical is there are some cigars at a certain price point that just aren't worth it to me.
yes.
Yeah, of
And so
course.
that's where I think like the day I run out of D4s, I'll sit there and say to myself, if they're $35 a stick at that point, and I am not satisfied getting that flavor profile that I like out of that D4 from anything else I have, and I say, you know what? For me personally, because I need it, and this is a hypothetical, I'll have to make this decision. I need that. And sure, then I'm gonna exceed whatever silly limit that I had once said,
Mhm.
and I will pursue it. But I'm always, you've heard me say this before, I'm all about paying more for more. So if I'm gonna get a unique experience I can't get anywhere else, and I have to pay more for it, I have no issue doing that.
Sure.
But my problem becomes like, a Bahique at $200 and something. Like I've smoked them. They're a very good cigar. I don't think that
No.
cigar is worth anywhere near that price point.
No.
And so if I love that cigar so much that I said, man, nothing satisfies me like a Bahique, I'm silly. I would spend $200
Yeah,
on
but
it.
honestly,
but
you never.
that's not my experience or my feeling, which
But
is
from
why I'll
that
never do it.
perspective,
Historically-
the Bahique makes a $35 D4 a bargain. It
Sure.
feels like a bargain. So you would buy another box if you're looking at it that way.
But I'm not comparing those head to
No,
head.
understood.
I just mean in
Understood.
isolation, I look at each as in, am I willing to pay more because that delivers me something I can't get anywhere else? And that Bahique, I'm sorry, there are many cigars that satisfy me just as much at a
Sure.
fraction of the price.
Sure, sure.
The question I'll have to face is with a D4, I have such an attachment to that cigar. I may conclude there is nothing else that gives me what I personally love and get out of that cigar. And so sure, I may pay more for it, but so many other Cuban cigars, I'll write off and I'll never, pursue again at the price point that they are.
I mean, the like the Coro. I mean, look at the Coro. Yeah, it come around. Oh, you smoke them, and we had some not so good ones and some good ones, some ones that were aged, some whatever. But you've been against the Coro since the existence of the Coro.
Correct.
Even when it was
Correct.
cheap, you thought it was overpriced.
Sure.
What? All of a sudden, something's changed? Nothing's changed.
Correct.
So
But a lot of people out there love the Cohiba Robusto.
I know.
I have said with a lot of one of the
They're
best
amazing.
cigars I've ever had was an 05 Cohiba Robusto. Outstanding.
Yeah,
But
delicious.
my problem is even when they were $30 a stick, the idea of paying $30 for a cigar that I hate young, I think it is awful young. I think with age it gets spectacular. Am I going to wait 10 years for that cigar to be that enjoyable at that price? I'm
At
never
80
going to
bucks
do
a
that.
stick?
Correct.
Nope.
Yeah, 70
And I
bucks a
didn't want to
stick.
do it even at 30 because for $30, I was then buying a Partagas D4 for $10.
Oh.
And I was satisfied with it young, let alone with 5 years of age. They were awesome. The thought of waiting 10 years and paying 3 times the price to me, I'm not getting.
It doesn't
Again,
compute.
I'm not getting
Doesn't
more for
compute.
more in that
The
scenario.
calculus just doesn't work. Period. It doesn't work on some of this stuff. So it's disappointing, these price increases, but
Yep, and they're going to
you-
keep coming, boys.
but you can't live your life in a cubicle. Live your life.
This is true. That's true.
We're coming to the end of our evening here, boys, with the Nikka Coffey Malt Whisky and the Por Larrañaga Montecarlos. Any final thoughts here on the pairing before we go into our ratings?
I thought it culminates in a delicious pairing for me. It's coming together beautifully at the end.
Yeah, I think to Bam's point, the cigar has picked up a little bit
Yeah.
in the final third
Correct.
that I think now actually holds up pretty well with the spirit.
Exactly right.
The only complaint I do have with the cigar, I have had to touch it up several times.
Me too.
Yeah,
That's one
me
thing
too.
I will say.
I wonder if that's a matter of youth.
It's also the matter of the ring gauge.
It could be, but
Yeah,
I
the
think
ring
the ring
gauge.
gauge is like when you're having a lot of conversation with a larger ring gauge cigar that you've really toasted well
Yeah.
A lot
and is
more
able
combustion.
to hold a lot more heat.
Correct.
I think, I can talk for 10 minutes and then go back to the
35
cigar.
minutes.
And, and go back to the cigar. With this little stick, you just can't really do
Yeah,
that.
you're going on 40 now.
I think he just liked that I said he was practical.
This is true.
All right, I'll mute myself.
All right, boys, it's time to do the formal liquor rating on the Nikka Coffey Malt Whiskey. Bam, Bam, you're up.
Yeah, so I think to everyone's comment earlier, it's a unique spirit. I don't think I've ever had anything quite like this. That hybrid flavor of what a bourbon and a whiskey could be done in a special manner, I think it's a 9 for me. It's a 9. Had not a drop of ice, and it just got better and better as the night went on. 9.
All right, Pagoda.
Yeah, it's a 9 for me as well. And I kind of agree with Bam that it just got better over a period of time. It did not require a chip of ice, and pretty interesting flavor as
Yeah.
well.
Senator.
So I'm between an 8 and a 9, but I think I'm going to round up. I'm going to be generous and give it a 9. Number one, we talk about, we do get attached to brands and their story and their history, and I'm very impressed with what this brand stands for and has done and has kind of blazed the trail for Japanese whiskey. I think it's definitely something I would drink again. I'd be very happy if someone poured me this if I was, out at someone's house, or if I was in an airport and they had this, I would absolutely pick it up. And I think it's versatile. I think I can see a lot of utility in this spirit. I mean, the fact that Puba mentioned the flavor profile being so unique that this could make an interesting cocktail.
Yeah.
We're sipping this neat. I think with ice, this has enough structure, it would hold up well. I would drink this on a summer day. I would drink this in the fall.
That's
in
a
the
great
winter.
point. Absolutely. Yeah.
There's a lot of utility
Yeah.
here. So, and then the last thing I'll say is just the style. Some of my most frustrating experiences with whiskey have been Japanese whiskey.
On this podcast, too.
Yeah. And so I love that this brand, now that we've tried 2 of kind of their flagship bottles, the fact that it's done this soft, balanced style that delivers flavor but is still so approachable, I think deserves a world of credit. So I'm going to happily round up to a 9.
All right, so I'm surprised to hear you in between an 8 and a 9, because I was in between a 9 and a 10 all night.
Yeah, I can
Wow.
see that.
And for me, it finished at a 10.
Really.
I think this is the best Japanese whiskey that we've had. I think that my brain tying this to the experience I have when I drink great rum is a real merit.
Mhm.
I think this can pair very well with a Cuban cigar, with a Dominican cigar, with a Nicaraguan cigar, any combo of the 3 and more. I think this is the very, very best that
Yeah.
we've had on the podcast as far as Japanese whiskey. And certainly in my mind, the only whiskey that I've ever said, you know what, this is giving me a rum-like experience, which my palate, certainly with how much we've been to Cuba and how much we love Cuban rum, it's giving me something close to that. I'm really, really happy with it. So I'm surprised to hear you say we're between an 8 and a 9, because I'm absolutely at a 10. I'm very, very happy with that.
Great notes.
Puba.
Yeah, I'm kind of with you. I was
Is
Peter,
Puba going to be generous tonight?
I really, and you guys know I'm honest and I can be brutal.
No. Not you.
No. I really enjoyed the spirit. I think it stands out. I think it's distinctive. I've never had anything in this style that delivered. I love the vanilla component.
Yeah.
And it wasn't overpowering, and it's not too sweet, so it was balanced.
Mhm.
And it was just very, very balanced is what I can say about it. So for me, I don't think I can give it a 10. It would probably be in between there. This was great for me. This is something that I'm going to. There are very few times where you bring in something that's not off-brand, but maybe not mainstream or well-known and established
That you would go for.
That I would kind of really, really go for. This is something that a mental note has been made. I will look for this in a bar. I will order it and I will drink it and I will advocate for other people to drink it. I really enjoyed it. So it's a 9 for me.
Great.
I thought it was great. I really did think it was fantastic. Unique.
Excellent notes, gentlemen.
Awesome, boys. So the formal liquor rating on the Nikka Coffey Malt Whisky is a 9.2.
Fantastic.
Which is very, very interesting, boys, because on episode 36...
Isn't it under?
We paired the Nikka Coffey Grain Whiskey, the sister to this, with the Partagas P2, and we rated that a 9.2. Exactly the same as this, which is pretty damn cool.
Yeah, it is cool.
We did that on 36. This is what? 123. So,
and I will just say, for the sake of explaining, why I was debating between an 8 and a 9 and why a 10,
I am interested to hear this.
It was not in the cards for me. The only thing I will say about this that precludes even me to consider a 10 is I would not consider this a very complex spirit. And I didn't hear a single person in this room say that the flavor profile of this was complex. We got a lot of vanilla, the right amount, not too much.
It's balanced,
and
however.
Just traditional kind of whiskey notes. But, for some of the spirits that I have rated a 10 or consider, in that conversation, I'm getting multiple notes that are very prominent and distinct and defined. And, I'm not knocking this as that there's something wrong with it. I'm just saying, like, to reach the highest point of a spirit rating for me, there's got to be some really unique complexity, and I just wouldn't describe this as an overly complex whiskey. I think it's pretty straightforward, but it does what it seeks to in a very good way.
Mm-hmm.
It does. It's just the uniqueness got me. What did we rate the Little Rest American whiskey?
We did that on episode 110, so 13 weeks ago. Little Rest American Single Malt Whiskey, 8.8.
8.8.
So about 4 points lower than this.
Yeah, it was higher proof.
Yes.
May have played into that.
Mm-hmm.
And the other thing, sorry, you mentioned the proof. This is not 40%. This is a 45% spirit. So the fact that
way.
Yeah. The fact that
that
shocking
right?
thing this neat.
We all of us had that neat.
Not a drop of ice.
You sure you don't want to change your rating?
No.
I got to tell you something.
It's too late.
For 90
Pagoda.
For 90 proof.
Police this.
I have
proof,
no desire to change.
This is okay. Yeah.
Pretty damn smooth with no ice, boys.
Wow.
All right, it's time to do the formal lizard rating now of the Por Larrañaga Montecarlo, the small Panatella.
Can't wait
Rooster,
for this
you're
one.
up.
I was really excited that we are doing this cigar. I have always wanted to do the Monte Carlo. I like cigars in this ring gauge. I see that, Bam. All the way down to the bottom.
All the way down to the bottom.
Yeah.
Are we surprised?
No.
I mean, I
don't know if that's
The
good.
man loves cigars.
Is that a... Thank you.
He's a big cigar guy.
Thank you.
So, I mean, I really like the cigar. I don't mind the size. I'm okay with a 33 ring gauge cigar. I like that format.
I mean, you love the MD04. That's
I
small.
do.
Oh, yeah.
Exactly. The only issue that I have, I mean, the flavor is great. The draw is tight. And after, reading reviews, and a lot of people talk about this cigar, that the draw, there's issues with the draw.
It's inconsistent performing.
It's inconsistent. And
Yeah.
for me, the draw got tighter towards the end.
Mm.
And it's odd. It's like I was enjoying it, and then it got tight and got even tighter. Like, it's
You were
it's
drooling as you were smoking.
It's unusual.
It's just-
True. And he didn't massage it very much.
You didn't gizmo the cigar.
I was afraid to massage the cigar, but other than the draw issue, I think it is a good cigar. It's got a lot of flavor. I like the notes that I get out of the cigar, mainly because of the draw. I mean, I'm gonna give it a 7.
Okay. Puba.
Yeah, only okay for me. I would echo what Rooster said. It was okay. Not terribly complex. It had moments where I was enjoying it more than others. Like the middle third, I thought was really good. I thought the beginning was kind of lackluster, and the last third was a little lackluster. So for me,
For me, it's it's a 7. The size probably isn't for me.
So I'm at an 8. I came into this cigar tonight with very low expectations. I thought it performed very, very well. It did not give me any problems. I really like some of the unique flavor notes of it. Am I going to reach for the cigar? No. But for what it is, the format that it is, very unique to the Habanos catalog in this size, I'm very comfortable with an 8. It really gave me a nice experience. And I can't knock it. So and the price point factoring in value there, under $10, even with this price increase. I mean, there's some merit to that in the Habanos catalog. So for me, it's an 8. Senator.
So I've been between a 7 and an 8 on this one, and I think I'm actually going to round up and I'm going to give it an 8. And the reason is I don't love Por Larrañaga as a brand, period. And even the PLPC for me, it's not that I find it to be a bad cigar. It's just the flavor profile is not something I pursue. It's too woody for what I normally like. This flavor profile I actually really like. I think my frustrations, like all, if not most of us in the room, I really wish the ring gauge were larger. I had to touch it up and relight it several times. But the actual, flavor, I think for me and most of us is the single most important factor when we're rating. And I really like the flavor profile. I would smoke something like this again. So I think I'm rounding up because for someone who wants to try the Por Larrañaga brand, I think this is probably the easiest entry point in. I think like those dessert notes, if you're like an Upman guy or Partagas or whatever the case may be, you would appreciate this cigar. If you do prefer a woodier, style, there's just enough of that I think you'd be satisfied too. So for those reasons, I think I would recommend it. Now, to Gizmo's point, will I pursue a box of these? No. But if someone handed me one of these, would I smoke it again and know that I would enjoy it, even though I'm going to have to light it and touch it up several times? I would.
Pagoda.
It's a 7 for me. And I think I'd already mentioned this earlier. Like in the beginning, I didn't feel that was within my flavor profile. I was missing something. I think the middle was great because that's when I got a little bit of the flavoring, which was what I call the biscuity kind of flavoring. I really enjoyed the flavor. Towards the end, again, it was a bit, the draw was really tight, was touching it up a lot towards the end, and the smoke output for me, because of the tightness of the draw, was also less. So, considering the construction, and I do understand it's a Panatella, and just overall, because of the inconsistency in the beginning and the end, I think it's a 7 for me.
Okay. Bam.
I'm firmly at an 8. Firm. I found this to be an enjoyable cigar. I think it evolved and became more robust. And we mentioned it earlier. It paired better and better with the spirit that we're having tonight. I found it to be delicious. The draw was in a little bit of an issue, but not that bad. I like the Petit Corona in this marca, and this is kind of like the bigger brother to that because it was a bit bolder. I thought it was a great cigar. 8.
I also just have to say quickly, clearly, if someone's going out to pursue this cigar, singles of it, look at the foot of the cigar.
Oh,
because
Yeah.
I feel hearing this,
Yeah.
I got very lucky. My draw was actually perfectly fine. I
Mhm.
didn't have any problems, but clearly had I gotten a
Sure.
different stick, I might have had a very different experience. So you really need to.
To your point, I looked at the foot when we were going through the box picking for the pod tonight.
It
I'm
varied.
glad I had a box and not just 6 of them
That's right. Yeah.
because I think we would have had a tougher time. I was looking at the foot when I was choosing.
There was variations on the foot of every cigar in that box. Yeah.
They're
and-
all rolled by different people.
Yeah, and also like we've talked about, to experience that exact same thing in a box of Cohiba Robustos at
Mhm.
that price.
Yeah.
And to have to pick over those going, wow, this is heavy, it's densely packed, the foot is tight, I'm going to have draw problems. It's a lot more acceptable to me in a sub $10 cigar than it is on a 60, 70 or 80.
But every Cohiba's put on a draw master, though.
Yeah, that's what they say.
Every single one.
Every single one. But the problem is they just let them all go out. All right, boys. So the formal lizard rating on the Por Larrañaga Montecarlos tonight is a 7.5.
Oof.
So let's compare that to some of the other Por Larrañagas we've done. The Petit Corona, famously, we did with Ricky on Chef Ricky Camacho on one of the tequila episodes, episode 34, if you can believe it, by the way. That's a lot of episodes ago.
Oh, it got an 8.
8.4.
Nice.
Yeah, I was going to say tequila episode.
We were feeling generous.
With Ricky, no
Yeah.
doubt it got an 8.
That's an accurate score for that cigar, my friend.
And we also did the Galanus, the Robusto offering from Por Larrañaga on episode 88. We gave that cigar a 6.0. We did that with the Bourbon Court 15, which is
CSC.
one of the worst
You
spirits
see
we've
what
ever had.
happens.
There is a trend here. There is a trend.
Is there a correlation, Senator?
So what do you guys think about the 7.5 on this? I think that's
I'm
a fair
just-
score.
I'm a little disappointed because I enjoyed it from beginning to end.
Honestly, for me, if I were to have
Just
to
a
give
little
it a
bit.
decimal, I would have put it at like a 79 or
7.8?
79, 81.
Yeah.
I was kind of in that range. That's why I ended up at a very low 8 for me.
Yeah.
So
Very low.
if I didn't have the draw issue, I think it would have been a higher score.
Yeah.
And the other thing I missed on the cigar is a pigtail. If it's got a
Oh.
pigtail, that's a point higher.
That's up when well, for me personally, when I'm rating for whatever it's worth, if I give something an 8, I'd buy a box of it. I wouldn't buy a box of this. For me,
it makes
that's just
sense.
me personally.
yeah,
Like
perfectly
how I
fair.
kind of do it. So
Very fair.
now would I if this was in like a sampler and there were like 2 of these, and I was buying a sampler or something like that, I would be happy to have 2 of these in my humidor, or if.
By the way, I have 16 for sale tonight.
Sold.
So it's nice to have a couple laying around, but
Yeah.
A lot of pessimists in this room, Pagoda.
well, no.
I don't know what's going on.
I don't know.
Some of us are just honest. I mean,
Oh.
But if it's an 8, if I give something an 8, I'd buy a box of it.
Yeah,
that's
sure.
perfectly
I
fair.
think that's fair.
That's fine.
So, boys, we did mention Chef Ricky. I want to say this really quick. We have to shout out his new quick serve Mexican restaurant
Yes.
in Montclair, New Jersey. Any
Ec-
listeners out there in the tri-state area, Montclair is a beautiful, beautiful town.
Yeah.
Check out Montclair.
Great food town.
Great
Yeah.
food town, great downtown. But Playa Taqueria is Chef Ricky's new
Playa
venture.
Taqueria.
Taqueria.
Playa.
Taqueria.
Taqueria.
This is amazing.
What was it?
You said Playa Taqueria.
All right.
It's actually
Okay.
tequila.
You go there for teriyaki.
Let me
Pennsylvania in the house.
Let me nail it.
White rice or fried rice?
Tequila.
No, we're not editing this out.
No, we are not.
Stay in.
Oh, yes, we are.
No, we're not.
No.
All right. You got to check out Chef Ricky Camacho's new spot, Playa Taqueria.
Say it again.
Did I do it again?
This is not editing out. You're not editing this.
Taqueria.
That's a taqueria, man.
Look, guys, he's taking Spanish lessons. They're really paying off.
Oh, yeah.
Got all these New Yorkers and a Pennsylvania
I'm 2.5
guy.
weeks in. All right, Chef Ricky, I'm so sorry. Let me try this one more time.
Let somebody else say it.
All right. I'm going to point to Senator. He
Correct.
could say it. He's a Spanish master. All right. Any listeners out there in the tri-state area coming to New Jersey have to go to Montclair and check out Chef Ricky Camacho's new quick serve restaurant,
Playa Taqueria.
Playa Taqueria.
There you go.
All right. No bullshit. It is some of the best quick serve lunch Spanish food I've ever had. It rivals Añejo in New York City, his other restaurant. It's some of the best fresh Mexican food I've ever had. It's unbelievable. Who else has tried it?
I haven't. I have yet to be there.
Oh,
Yeah.
it's unbelievable.
Can't
You
wait
guys
to-
got to go.
Can't wait to
gotta
try
try
it.
it.
You guys
Can't
got to
wait.
go. So get out there. It just opened, just had its grand opening. Check it out. Playa Taqueria.
There
Love
we
you.
go.
Yeah.
There we go.
Hey.
I'm working on it,
If
boys.
you said it again, that would have been really fun.
All right, boys, a great night tonight on the Nikka Coffey Malt Whisky from Japan. We got a 9.2, and on our Cuban Por Larrañaga Montecarlos, we had a 7.5. Excellent night, boys. Great conversation. We'll see everybody next week.
Keep smoking.
Hope you enjoyed this episode. Thanks for joining us. You can find our merch store and ratings archive at our brand new website, loungelizardspod.com. That's loungelizardspod.com. Don't forget to leave us a rating and subscribe on your favorite podcast platform. If you have any comments, questions, if you want to reach out, say hello, tell us what you're smoking, email us, hello@loungelizardspod.com. You can also find us on Instagram @loungelizardspod. We really appreciate your time, and we'll see you next week.